you have been in the AD security area now for how many years?
A long time.
A long.
Let's not mention that many years because, yeah, it's a long time.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
Okay, so that means that we are still struggling with this. It's still a real topic. We're still being attacked. That's obvious. I mean, you
It
just
is.
go on the internet and we see this. And Active Directory has been around for years and years. We're getting attacked. What is wrong? What are we doing wrong?
We are doing some distinctive things very wrong. I mean, you got to consider Active Directory alone has been around for 19 years. And yes, we do have some new technologies to help, but it's nothing that is going to help us defend completely against the attackers. So one of the things that I've been stressing over the last 6 to 12 months is we need to think differently. We have to think just a little bit differently, because when you think the same way and you do the same things and you get the same result, that's called insanity. And we need to change things up a little bit. I just think we don't have a lot of things that we can throw at it, but certainly we can look at some things differently.
Some things. Can you
Privileges.
Privileges.
Got to look at privileges.
For those one who doesn't really know, privilege is kind of a big word. Can you drill it down a little bit?
So my definition of privilege is anything above standard user.
Okay.
Let me give you an example.
Yep.
Obviously, if I'm a domain admin, that's big privilege, right? Duh.
Convenient.
But let's talk about the user that can install applications on their computer. That's privilege. They have the privilege to do that.
Yeah.
So privilege is a variety of different things. And what we need to do is really look at a least privilege model. That term has been around for a long time, but we cannot just look at Active Directory. Many organizations, many admins say, okay, I know who's in my domain admins, I know who's in my enterprise admins, so I'm good. No, that's the tip of the iceberg. So if you look at that picture, right, everyone's seen that picture where you see 10 foot of the iceberg above the water, and there's 200 foot below the water.
Yep.
That's what we're dealing with here. So when we talk about privileges, I really break it down in Active Directory into 3 areas. We have groups. Those groups could either be built-in groups, as I just mentioned, domain admins, enterprise. Yep. And we also have groups that are created by services and applications. And we also have custom groups. Any of those could have privileges.
Yep.
We also have user rights. User rights are per machine. So each domain controller has its own unique user rights. And we also have resource access. Now, why is that privileges? Well, you have HR databases, you have financial databases. These have critical information, and people have privileges over them.
Yep.
So those are the 3, and what I consider in your servers and domain controllers, the 3 levels of privileges. We can't forget about our endpoints, though.
Exactly. We're back here again, like we would discuss a little bit in another episode.
Yeah.
We're back at like the kind of the square one, and it feels like we're always getting back to, okay, we're hardening our servers, we buy the most expensive firewall, we do all these kind of things, and everything comes back to, okay, but
we have to worry about the basics.
What about the endpoints then?
Yeah. So when we look at privilege, we have to look at privilege in Active Directory. We have to look at privileges on your endpoints. So breaking it down, that's really what we have to look at, and we have to look at this in a very systematic way as well. So if we look at a process for that, right? So we looked at privileges. Now if we look at a process for that, we can create a methodology on how we can actually make sure that not only privileges but other security settings are maintained. And this maintaining really is a 3-step process. Step 1, we have to create a baseline of security. We have to know what we have. 2, we have to monitor for changes. And 3, we have to be alerted when those changes occur. So let's talk about a baseline. Okay, what is a baseline? A baseline means that you are going to document all the critical areas of security. It's probably the same for every organization, but you may have some different areas. Areas would include users, group membership, user rights, password policy, and the list goes on and on. So you're going to break these down, and then what you're going to do is you're going to go run a report. That may sound simple, but it's not always simple, okay? You're going to run a report of what you currently have. So now you're going to see what the security is set to.
Yeah. I can't imagine this is a huge task, because it feels like when you're out there, it's the domain controller has been around for years.
Yeah.
And it started off in T4, and it goes on, and it's a new admin, and it's coming a new admin, and this admin has this, and you know, and to get the umbrella view over this,
it's complicated.
It is.
And what you just brought up a critical factor. Okay, we call it in the industry, junk in equals junk out, right? So if you have a Windows NT domain controller and you upgrade it to 2000, and it was junky in NT, it's going to be junky in 2000. And I don't care which OS you pick, 2008 to 2012, 2012 to 2016. It doesn't matter what you're picking. Yeah. If you had junk to begin with, Microsoft doesn't fix it in the upgrade process. So that's one factor.
Yeah.
The second factor, try to show me in most of the Microsoft tools a drop-down that says report. Doesn't exist. So there are no tools. So this concept of reporting actually isn't that simple. You have to know where to go to look at the right information. And that's only part of that first step. The next part of that is you have to analyze to make sure of what you can have, right? I mean, let's look at, for example, authentication protocols. Can an organization get rid of LAN manager and NTLM? You have to analyze to determine if you can do that.
Exactly. We might have applications, old applications that rely on them.
Absolutely. Yeah. You can't just go in and turn that stuff off.
No,
right?
No.
So I run the report, and then I analyze to determine what's possible. Once I analyze, I then configure. So the first group of steps in the process is report, analyze, configure. But you can't stop there. And this is where most organizations stop. They will do this during the production phase. I buy a new server, I go in, I configure it exactly the way I want it, I throw it into the wild, and then I forget it. I maybe am doing security hardening, so I go run reports, so I analyze and I configure a server, and I say, perfect, it's exactly the way I want it, and I move on to the next task. But the reality is, how long does it take for a security setting to change?
And who changed it?
And who changed it, right? So the second part of the process is monitor. We have to monitor. We have to monitor changes that are occurring in systems.
Yeah, because it feels like the IT environment doesn't matter what it is, the infrastructure, the services, the application, everything changes.
It's going to change.
It changed.
It's going to change.
It's a business that's changed.
And we call it drift.
Exactly.
Right? We call it drift. Things drift. Yeah. How? We'll get to that in just a minute, right? We'll get to that in just a minute. But you know, auditors wouldn't exist if things didn't drift.
Exactly.
Right? Because auditors come in and they say, I need a report of that. And the admin's looking at them like, what report of that? I already configured that. I did this process. Yes. And then they give them a report, and the report differs from the way they configured it last. And the auditor goes, well, how did this change? And the admin goes, I don't know, right? So if we can actually monitor all of these changes, what we can do is see when things change. So again, step one was making sure things were correct. Step two is monitor when they change. So if we monitor and we don't see any changes, then it's still correct. It's that simple. It's quite simple.
It is.
Right? But we have a third part of this. And the third part's probably the most important part, right? Because I don't know too many admins that have time to look through reports. And when you monitor, it's just a report.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. And it's already happened. if something happens.
It is already happened.
The report is back in time. It maybe be the last minute, but still it's.
That's correct, right? So it's the complexity of I don't have time to go look at the report. So you're correct. I may find out that 5 days ago something happened.
Exactly.
So what I need in step 3 is alerting, real-time alerting. I need the system to tell me that the change occurred.
Exactly. And what feels so strange for me here, like we have been monitoring in the IT environment for years. I mean, the network, it's, of course you set up a network monitoring tool because I want to know if my switch is down.
Sure.
But when it comes to applications and endpoints and AD and security,
yeah, we haven't.
No, we haven't.
I mean, I do all these seminars around the world, and I will ask groups of administrators, how many of you right now, this very second, know who has membership in domain admins? It's less than 5%.
Exactly.
Which is crazy.
It's like the fundamental piece. It's one of the most important directory, what do you call it? Like where the user, where all the rights are, and you have no idea what it looks like.
No idea. No idea. I mean, if we just take basic settings, who's in domain admins? Most organizations don't know. What is the password policy? Most organizations don't know. They don't even know how to run a report on it. And that hasn't changed in 19 years. You know? I mean, if we ask, does the user have membership in the local administrators group? They usually know the answer is yes or no, but they don't know how to get rid of that user out of the local administrators group. All of these things are vital to ensure overall security. It's just where we need to be. So we started this small little segment with the concept of what do we do? We changed it a little bit. It's not a radical change.
No.
But we need to look at things differently. It's a little bit different shift, right? We must control privileges, and we must have the 3 steps in place. Run reports, analyze, configure, monitor, and then let the system tell us when things change through real-time alerting. And this concept is not going to secure us 100%, but I guarantee you look at organizations like Marriott, which didn't know that they've been breached for 5 years, or maybe it was 4 years. That's just unacceptable.
Yeah.
That's completely unacceptable. So if we have monitoring and alerting in place, we're going to be able to be told, hey, something's bad, you know? So I think really this is the angle we need to take.
And in order to do that, you need to have the baseline, as you said in the beginning. We need to know how it looks like today.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, it will be like trying to find something that I don't know even existed.
That's right.
You can't set up an alert.
Yeah, and the baseline is that report, analyze, configure. That's that group together.
Yeah, and this you would say needs to be done now.
Absolutely, yesterday.
Yesterday.
It has to be done yesterday. The fact that I still do 80 seminars and I ask administrators how many of them know who's in domain admins, and not everyone raises their hand, that's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. And they know it.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know the root problem. The root problem is they're still trying to rely on the event viewer to get information out of the system. It just doesn't work. We know the event viewer.
We have known that.
We need a SIM. We need a SIM.
But there is a reason why we have SIM solutions. And we have. If they will be the good ones in Microsoft Active Directory or in the Windows Server, we wouldn't need it.
Yeah, we have to have a SIM.
But go to this is just
because event viewer is not a SIM.
You will fail.
Event viewer is not a SIM. It's not even a great tool. We need something to pull the information out and look for changes that's going to real-time alert us, and that's what we need a SIM tool for.
I think that's it.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it. So
Cool.
again, folks, I hope you get some good information. Look for new videos coming up. Hopefully Derek will be there next time. Until then, I say bye-bye.